Hello, my name is Maria Rodriguez, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how reliable your memory actually is. I like to call this speech imagination versus reality because in reality, your memories are not what you think that they are, and we're going to be examining this today. Many people believe that your mind and your brain for your memories is a file cabinet, and that is completely wrong. Your brain, when you pick out a memory of, oh, remember when I rode my bike for the first time, your brain doesn't have a little guy in there that goes to file cabinet and processes that memory back to you. That's completely false. In fact, we will also be examining why memories from childhood are false also. So to start this speech off, I'm going to show you a picture of some pennies. We use money in our everyday lives. We learned how to examine them and determine the differences when we were probably in preschool or kindergarten. And from that learning, let's see how reliable our memory is to pick out the correct penny. This is a group of pennies, A through L, and I want you to try to figure out which one is the actual penny that you use when you pay for your bills and stuff. I'll give you a second to look at that. The actual penny in this photo is actually penny number A, which is this one right there. Many of you will probably get this wrong. In fact, at least 75% of you will get this activity wrong. The first time I did it, I even got this activity wrong. We think that because we use money in our everyday lives that we're just like, oh, here it is. We don't remember what it looks like. We know that Lincoln is on the penny, and we know that it might say "In God We Trust" or United States of America or the year, but we don't know exactly where those places are on the penny. Some of these pennies, the heads were turned this way and this way, which can also trick you. That activity just goes to show that your memory is not reliable like how you think it is. The next thing that I'm going to be discussing with you guys today is eyewitness testimonies. We've all watched Law and Order, CSI, when somebody gets murdered or raped, you see the people lined up with numbers on their chest, and the witness stands there and tries to pinpoint who the crime was on. Well, these do not actually help at all. The lineup is actually one of the things that can get an innocent person put in jail. Why eyewitness testimonies are wrong is because people tend to combine two memories in one. You may have experienced a car accident previous in your life. You may have been in a car accident previous in your life. And then you may have witnessed one where people have died and there was a drunk driver. You can combine both memories in one because your brain has schemas. And what a schema is when you're growing up, you tend to put things inside of this schema. So if you see a pen, you may think of a pen looking a certain way, and then when you are younger you may see one of those big giant pens, and that's a new schema. So for a car accident, people who have witnessed one and who have not witnessed one have different schemas. People also say their expectations of what they want the event to turn out as. People are very biased in our lives. It's true. Many of us are racist, and that can interfere with eyewitness testimonies. If you particularly don't like a certain race, you could try to pinpoint that on a certain person. Before speaking to authorities, people tend to speak to other people that witnessed the event that they witnessed to try to talk about it and see what they saw happen. And then later, when they are questioned, they actually say the wrong thing. They use the other person's memory in with their own, which you cannot do because it's not truly your own memory. People also tend to drop or add false details into their memory of like what the person could be wearing, if they're wearing glasses, if they're wearing a baseball cap, what's on the baseball cap, the color of their shirt. It honestly depends, and accuracy is lowered when the person is questioned right away. Officials have actually begun to be being trained to wait a certain amount of time for a person to process all of the information, and they're even being trained now also to to ask questions in an appropriate way. Sorry, like if you witness a car accident, specifically changing the word crashed to collided can change a person's perspective of how fast the car was going. So right now I'm going to show you a 60 minutes video with a famous psychologist, Elizabeth Loftus. She is excellent with memory and proving why your memory is actually false. So let's see what happens in this video.
One thing we know about memory is it doesn't work like a videotape recorder. You don't just record the event and play it back later, but rather it's malleable and it's susceptible to distortion, contamination, and other influences.
She asked me to study these faces. Then, after a few minutes, she gave me a memory test.
Which of these two faces do you recognize from the original study phase?
Right.
Okay, you picked right.
Left.
You picked left. Okay.
I said left, but I wasn't 100% sure. And then, the tricky part. Oh. Well, I'll tell you why I'm stymied. Because I just picked this one on the left 2 seconds ago. But now I'm not sure, because those two look very much alike to me. But I'm going to tell you the left. But I was wrong. It was the one on the right. And that's the whole point of the study. Loftus explained how, like her study subjects, I had been duped.
You saw this face, then I gave you a test where I presented you with an altered face.
Oh my God.
Along with a novel one. So I pretty much induce you to pick a wrong face because I don't even have the real guy there. It's an altered version. And later on, when you now have a choice between the altered one and the real one, you stuck with your altered left choice.
She says the more recent memory contaminates the original.
That video just goes to show how unreliable your memory truly is, and with eyewitness testimonies why they can be completely false. The next subject that I'm going to be talking about is how memory is personal. We all react to certain situations differently from one another. We all have different emotions when a certain event happens to us. We all have our different beliefs, and we all have different backgrounds and experiences that can also alter how our memories come back to life when we want to recollect them. Like I said earlier, memory is completely biased and it is completely opinionated. That's why when you ask somebody for their sides of the story, you get two separate stories because everybody is different in their own unique way. The next subject I'm going to be talking to you about is false memories and how false memories can be planted. Now, many of you are thinking you can remember, oh, the first time I rode my bike, I was 3 years old and I was happy and cheerful and I scraped my knee, and well, you cannot remember memories from before the ages of 4 or 5. So, as you're sitting here, as ranging from 18 to maybe 21, and you can think that riding your bike for the first time, you're wrong because your brain cannot date back to that far. Old memories are also very distorted and hazy. You can remember certain things about what had happened, but you will not remember all of it. Parts of it may be mixed up, which is when you can also plant your own false memory into what you think is real. There's a quote that I picked, and the quote is, "When a gun is pointed at a victim, she focuses on the gun rather than the assailant's face, whom she will claim she recognizes later," which can also date back to the eyewitness testimony, but this has to do with the type of environment and what situation you're really in. If a person does have a gun pointed at your face, you aren't going to be focused on what they're wearing, what what's on their baseball cap, the color of their skin. You're going to be fearful for your life, and you are going to be focused on that gun rather than what the assailtant looks like, and that's just the truth. The next subject is the flashbulb memory. Many of you, I'm sure, can say that you remember what you were doing on 9/11. I remember what I was doing on 9/11. I was in a parade, people were waving American flags everywhere. That was a very eventful day in the history of the United States. What the definition of a flashbulb memory is memories are clear of an emotional or significant moment in an event. Example is 9/11. What were you doing on 9/11? And there was a study of reporters who questioned people on the day that 9/11 happened, and then 9 months to a year later, they went back and questioned those same exact people of what had happened, and they were wrong. At least one key detail of what happened to them that day, they did not forget, or they forgot, or they forgot to mention that memory. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud has a series of defense mechanisms, and one of his defense mechanisms is the defense mechanism of repression. And repression is when the mind completely banishes horrible memories completely from your memory. And what I personally have to say to that, and what many people who focus and choose to study memory for their lives, is how does that explain how Jewish people and people that were tortured and tormented in the Holocaust still have vivid memories of what happened to them? And soldiers that come back from war, how do they picture in their minds what exactly happened? That is a horrible, horrible event. And according to Freud, their minds should be able to banish that. Now, in closing, many of you will not remember what my speech was about. You just won't. For some of you, it might not have interested you. For others, it might have, but not that much. What you will remember, though, is the fact that I mentioned the Holocaust, 9/11, and Sigmund Freud. Many of you already have schemas for that, and you may place my speech into your schemas, but you will not remember anything like the video that I showed you, eyewitness testimonies, probably in a week. Thank you for watching my speech, and if you have any questions, please feel free.